the Arsenic album. From the time of Honeyman to the present day, it is one of the polycrest that has been very much indicated and extensively used. It affects the whole economy, every tissue of the man. There are certain striking features in it: anxiety, restlessness, prostration, burning, and cadaveric odor. And mental symptoms. The anxiety that is found in arsenic is intermingled with fear, with impulses, with suicidal inclinations, and with manias. It has delusions and active form of delirium with excitement. Sadness prevails throughout. The anxiety takes the form of restlessness. He constantly moves. If it is child, then he goes from nurse to mother and mother to nurse, from one chair to another and from one place to another. When in bed, he is constantly moving from one position to another. And if he is able to move, then he will go from one place to another, from one chair, from one room to another room, from one person to another person, and he will constantly moving. But when he is thoroughly exhausted, he goes back to bed. Restlessness seems to be mostly in the mind. It is the mental restlessness. It seems he cannot live. It is not the pain that drives him to despair, but it is the anxiety mixed with restlessness and sadness. This state prevails in all kinds of diseases, and uneasiness, anxiety, restlessness comes first in active form. When lying in bed, first he is able to move the whole body, and as the prostration increases, then he is only able to move his limbs. And finally the prostration becomes very much marked, and he lies in a perfect quiet in prostration. He appears like a cadaver. It seems that the prostration has taken the place of anxiety and restlessness. So remember that these states of anxiety and restlessness go toward the cadaveric aspect, toward the death. For instance, if arsenic is indicated in typhoid case, then first there is anxiety, restlessness, and that will end up in great prostration, and the patient lies like a cadaver. The mental state of arsenic in the beginning is anxious restlessness that leads to delirium and then even to insanity, and after that it is continued into disturbance of will and disturbance of intellect, and he thinks he must die, and there is no use of a doctor. There are thoughts of incurability of disease. Thoughts crowd upon him, and he is too weak to put them off. He lies tormented in bed with these kind of depressing thoughts. In delirium, he sees all kinds of vermin in the bed, loud moaning and groaning, gnashing teeth, religious mania and delusion that she has sinned away the day of grace. There is no hope for her, and she goes on thinking on religious matters till she is completely insane. And finally she enters into a state of complete insanity and lies in complete tranquility, silence, and with aversion to talk. Fear is a strong element of arsenic. He dreads to be alone. He is insecure and he wants company he can talk to. He has violent increase of fears and horrors. And there are many complaints that increases as the evening grows. Arsenic patient is very sensitive and fastidious. Sensitive to smell, to surroundings of the room, to surroundings of the circumstances, and if this is carried out in a woman who is sick in bed, will be in great distress. If every picture on the wall doesn't hang perfectly straight, this is a morbid kind of fastidiousness, and arsenic is simillimum in it. I would like to add certain things from Essence of Materia Medica by Dr. Vitholcus. Dr. Vitholcus says that arsenic patient has a deep-seated insecurity, and out of insecurity there is a tendency to depend upon others. Arsenic patient surrounds himself with people because of the insecure concern about his health. He has a fear of being alone. It is an actual need of someone to be present near him, on which he can be dependent. He is a sort of person that needs more than a company. Arsenic patient is very possessive about money, about people, about everything. And he hardly shares a relationship of give and take. But he is a bit selfish kind of a person, always taker in a relationship. And if he will support somebody, he will expect the support in return. And he is miser, always collecting things. If something happens to someone, arsenic patient will think first of himself. It is not like phosphorus. Phosphorus will wholeheartedly think of other person and will try to help him out of the way. If a car accident has happened and phosphorus patient wholeheartedly will go toward that incident and will try to help the victim and will think himself at his place and try to help what he can be able to do. But arsenic patient will think, oh, what if it happened with me, or it could happen to me. If you have two patients in your clinic, one is arsenic and other is phosphorus, phosphorus patient will plead for the help, whereas the arsenic patient will demand it. This is the difference, how he is clinging to you, and you will feel the pressure of the patient. Homeopathy is bound to feel the weight of a arsenic patient. Next, we know that arsenic patient is very fastidious, but it should be very clear that we as homeopath don't prescribe on the beneficial qualities. And if a patient is neat and clean, or if a patient is a perfectionist, that is a beneficial positive quality. We cannot prescribe on such things. But if there is a pathology beyond that beneficial, there is a compulsive need to be fastidious or perfectionist, then we can think of. On the other hand, we see people who are compulsively fastidious, obsessed by the need for order and cleanliness, constantly cleaning and straightening. That is arsenic. It is a pathological condition. It is an obsessive attempt to remove the anxious insecurity internally by ordering and cleaning in the external world. Fastidiousness of arsenic arises out of anxiety and insecurity. And we have two other remedies, Nux vomica and Natramur, which has fastidiousness. But in a Nux vomica, it arises more from excessive compulsion to work, and he will give overly conscious attention to each and every minute details, and he has a sense of need for efficiency. And in nature also, fastidiousness is same as in nux vomica, but he is extra conscious for scheduling of time. Arsenic patient manifests anxiety about health. Earlier, anxiety is in the morning. When the sickness penetrates deeper, arsenic will manifest more anxiety about health, fears that he will die, and it is first noticeable early morning, but gradually it occupies his attention throughout day and night. And at this stage, he has a fear of being alone. He craves for the company, always to depend upon. It is very important to distinguish the arsenic anxiety about health, because if we look in the repertory anxiety about health or anxiety for others, there are so many remedies. Anxiety about health in arsenic is basically arises out of fear of death, as if he is dying, and he is very insecure and anxious about his health. Same is true about another rubric, anxiety for others. If we find in repertory anxiety for others, arsenic has a least concern for others, rather a fear of losing someone close to him, on which he is dependent. If an arsenic patient meets a stranger on the way in a new area, and he will like the company of a stranger to converse with, but as the stranger will ask that he has a problem in searching a hotel and he has no place to live, arsenic will immediately withdraw himself and he will only make superficial conversations. Arsenic patient will courteously express his consolation, but his attitude would be, you have your own problems, what about my problems which I had? On the other hand, the phosphorus patient will be immediately excited and say, oh my goodness, you have no hotel? Let me search. He pick up the phone and try calling many people. We have to take the whole case. We see that how one stage enters into another stage, and how the symptoms in one stage varies and are different in another state. We have to note the course that the case has run in order to understand it clearly.